Been a little while since I've done a book haul, and I have quite a few amazing things here, and my birthday present showed up early, so let's get right into this. I'm just going to go straight to the birthday present because it's amazing. Not too long ago, Grammaticus Books did a video about the Robert E. Howard James Allison stories, and that same day, I got tagged in a Discord group I'm in, and the person was like, hey, there's this Robert E. Howard book you might be interested in, and it was Swords of the North by Robert E. Howard, featuring the complete tales of Cormac MacArt and James Allison. And I was like, well, holy crap. Not only is this absolutely beautiful, it's just really, really high quality. And the Robert E. Howard Foundation Press is so cool. I don't like that that book is listed as number 9 because that implies that I need to pick up at least 8 other books because they're beautiful and it's a lot of the Robert E. Howard stuff that I don't have. And I really hope that they're doing like a release of every single Robert E. Howard story, because that would be a great way to collect them, because the Del Rey stuff is awesome, but that's not a complete collection. It's a way to get all the Conan stuff complete, which is nice. Beyond that, it kind of starts lacking when you look at Robert E. Howard's historicals and everything. But yeah, that book is wonderful. I'm super excited that I picked up a copy. Hey, look, we've got a guest star. This is Sasuke, my 17-year-old man. Yeah, he was just under my chair screaming at me. I think he woke up and realized that he was still alive and needed to let someone else know. He's beautiful. Hey, old man. We'll see how long he stays in my lap while I'm filming this. And he's gone. So this month is Garb August on BookTube, where you read garbage books. And while a lot of them aren't technically garbage, the kind of theme is like you're reading books where a lot of people are like, ew, why are you reading that? So I picked up a Harold Robbins novel, and this is the first one I found in person, which is really strange when you look at the stats, and he is the 5th best-selling author of all time. It's like, how did he sell so many books, but I can't find them? I guess it's because they were all like disposable mass market paperbacks and stuff. And this is actually the second book in a series. This is Harold Robbins' The Secret, the sequel to The Predators. And I picked it up because it was the first one I'd ever seen, but also it's the start of like my Harold Robbins collection. And this month at some point, I'm going to read either this book or something else from him because it's Garb August and I want to give him a try. I found something I didn't know existed, and it was kind of impressive. It's a treasury of Civil War stories, including works by William Faulkner, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Thomas Wolfe, O. Henry, Stephen Vincent Benet, Stephen Crane, Shelby Foote, and many others. And it's like, wow, this is quite the collection that I had no idea existed. I mean, I'm a big fan of war novels, and while I have not read enough Civil War fiction, I will say this is probably a good place to start. This has Robert W. Chambers in it. Wow. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. There's one from Mark Twain. This has The Red Badge of Courage. Dang. This is a much better find than I thought. I picked this up for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
I have been interested in reading Charles Dent because recently a few people whose judgment I trust have fallen in love with his writing. So I picked up From a Whisper to a Scream. It's a collection of stories that were published under his pen name. So I don't know if they're going to be like as good as his other stuff, but I found it for really cheap. And I was like, well, I mean, that's, I guess, a start. And then I heard about Forests of the Heart. So I picked that up too. And, you know, you got to start somewhere, especially when it comes to collecting. And I know that he has other starting points that people recommend, but I couldn't find those books. So I took what I could get for a reasonable price. So I'm looking forward to getting to Charles Dent. And, you know, if I end up digging into them and I don't like them, then, you know, they'll just go off to the donation pile. So recently, Jimmy on the Fantasy Network read Lamentation by Ken Scholes, which is the first book in a series. And I happened to be at my favorite bookstore, Recycled Books, and they had the first 2 in like a little bundle. So we picked up Lamentation in a beautiful first edition, first printing hardcover, and Canticle, the sequel, also beautiful first edition, first printing. These look really cool. I don't know why I wasn't aware of them. They were published around the time I still looked at everything as it was coming out. This was when I was really getting back into fantasy heavily, so I have no idea why I never knew about them. I don't know if they got a lot of press or anything. I don't know what it was, but it's a 5-book series and I'm going to give it a try. Jimmy enjoyed the first one and he's interested in getting to the second one, so I'm going to try to do one of those this month, but I don't know if I'll get around to it because it's Garb August and I'm reading a bunch of junk. I am a Heinlein hater, as my video says, but I can appreciate the stuff that he writes that is worth reading. And Bridger from the Library Ladder told me that I need to read his future history short stories. So when I stumbled upon The Past Through Tomorrow by Robert Heinlein, a science fiction book club edition hardcover, I thought, oh, well, I guess this is perfect, because I read the description and the very first thing it mentions is the original future history collection of Robert Heinlein. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I think this has like novels and all of his future history short stories. It's got The Man Who Sold the Moon, The Green Hills of Earth, Methuselah's Children. This is quite a tome. Like this is a chonky little science fiction book club hardcover. It's got all the stuff that I need to read to kind of finish off my Heinlein journey. Like I said in my Heinlein hater video, which you can find on my channel, he wrote good stuff, but the problem was the further he got into his career and the more famous he got, he didn't have editors telling him no. So he was just writing trash. But this is all stuff from early in his career when he was writing things like his juveniles. So I think these are going to be really fun to read. I am a very big fan of Frederick Brown. Frederick Brown wrote Nightmares and Giesenstacks, which is the best collection of horror short fiction I've ever read, like by a single author. And I mean, that man was the king of flash fiction before flash fiction was a thing. So I was super hyped when I found this copy of Martians Go Home with the original cover. It's a book club edition, but it's still from the 1950s. And the book is in good shape, and I'm going to read this month. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's very satirical, and it's just one of the more interesting Martian invasion stories. So that'll be fun to read about. I've read a few of his other short stories from like Space on My Hands, and I really like them. And I just know that this is his most famous novel. He primarily wrote short fiction. Also, I mentioned it in my Nightmares and Giesenstacks video. This man did not want to work. He did not want to write. He would do anything he could to just not be writing, learning to play an instrument, doing other things. Like he just actively avoided his job. Martians Go Home is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Every time I read something from Frederick Brown, I'm just more impressed by his writing abilities, even though he didn't want to do it. I found a banger. This is something I was saving up for. I made a deal with my wife that for every Zelazny book I read, I would get to put aside some cash because I wanted to buy a huge collection of his works. And well, I've got one less of those that I have to buy because I found Threshold Volume 1 in the Collected Stories of Roger Zelazny. This is so freaking cool. It's from NEFSA Press. And NESFA Press, I am falling in love with. Every time I get one of their books, I just love it. So far, I've got Sung in Blood. It's Glenn Cook's novella that was published when he was the guest of honor at the NESFA convention. It's all right, but it's signed. I'm really happy to have it. I have a copy of Silverlock by John Myers Myers, and it is an NESFA Press, and it's got a lot of extra stuff in it. I talked about that in a previous book haul. It's really cool. And now I've got the first volume in the Collected Stories of Roger Zelazny. I love Roger Zelazny, and I want to own everything he has ever written, and this is going to be the best ways to do it. It's a 6-volume collection, so I need 5 more of these hardcovers. This is a first printing, too. Very first story. Look at that. A Rose for Ecclesiastes, one of my favorite short stories of all time. This is just going to be another one of those projects that I take a long time with, like the Theodore Sturgeon stuff, but I am going to tackle all of Zelazny's short fiction. I'm not even really a short fiction enjoyer. I can tolerate short fiction, but when it comes to certain writers like Zelazny or Robert E. Howard, they're just different. They're so good. So I'm going to read them all. This was a very short book haul. I didn't realize I had so little to show off until I got to the end, but I'm really excited about all of them. It's a lot of things that I've been looking for a while, or I had just very recently thought, it'd be really cool if I could get into that. Like the Ken Scholes series, I wasn't going to read that until I found physical copies because I like to collect them. I'm probably going to do audiobooks because I have a lot more time for audio, but I like collecting books. And then I find the first 2 and first edition, first printing hardcovers, and they're beautiful and they're in great shape and they were dirt cheap. So they get bumped to the top of the TBR. That's kind of the way I've been doing things lately is I'm really trying to read the things I own, and I just let fate decide when I'm going to read some of the other things I'm interested in. I've got lists of stuff I want to try, and I just say, well, you know what? If I find a physical copy, I'll do it. That's how I read A Song for Our Bond. That was wonderful. That's the reason I'm reading a few books right now. So we're just going to keep leaving my reading decisions up to fate and whimsy and see how it goes. It's been really good so far this year. Thanks for watching this. If you like book hauls, I've got a playlist of book hauls you can check out. Let me know in the comments if you have any of these books or you enjoy them. Let me know what your most recent favorite book find is. And thanks for watching. And with that, I'll see you next time.